Hello, everyone. Can you guys hear me? Hello, welcome. Okay, if you can hear me, tell me in the chat box so that I see who's here. Hello. Okay, so you do hear me. Great. Loud and clear. Perfect. So, how are you guys today? Okay. I'm glad that you guys are feeling fine. Okay, perfect. So I think enough people have joined so we can get started. So I would like to say hello again. Welcome. My name is Soheila, and today we are going to talk a little bit about IELTS speaking. The theme that we will be focusing on will be culture and leisure. So let's see what the aim of today's webinar is. First of all, we are going to learn how to talk about our likes and dislikes, which would be, let's say, very common questions in part one of the speaking test. I will tell you the difference between ed and ing adjectives in order to describe activities, since this is a very common, let's say, problem among students confusing ed and ing adjectives. By that, I mean, for example, the difference between interesting and interested. Then we will answer some common part one questions on leisure activities. That would be the theme. We will learn how to describe a book or movie in part two, again, as part of the theme of leisure activities, and use a range of language to give our opinions in part three. So a comprehensive, let's say, introduction to parts one, two, and three with regards to the topic of leisure time activities. So are you guys ready to achieve these aims? Okay, perfect. So let's get started. So as you guys know, in speaking part one, we will be asked some questions about ourselves, right? So it would be the introduction part lasting between 4 and 5 minutes, right? And usually in part one, we have three sets of questions. The way they start is either by asking you about your work and studies or asking you about where you live, either the apartment, I mean the accommodation that you live in, or the city or town that you live in. So this is how they start. Plus this, they would ask you two sets of questions. So I don't say two questions. I'm saying two sets of questions about two different topics, right? The topics in part one will be about you and familiar topics. So, well, like your free time activities, your education, anything about you. And like I said, it lasts 4 to 5 minutes. So, one of the very common topics would be to talk about your hobbies and leisure activities. So, let me show you these pictures. According to these pictures, what kind of questions do you think the examiner might ask with regards to hobbies and leisure time activities? And these could be the answers to those, right? Not necessarily the questions. So what kind of questions do you think they would ask in part one? Write down a couple of them in the chat box and we'll take them out. What do you do in your spare time? Yeah. What do you do on the weekends? That's also good. Uh-huh. Well, let's put it this way. What kind of sports do you do? Okay, then what are your favorite sports? Exactly, Alma. How do you spend your free time? Mm-hmm. What do you do in your leisure time? Very good. What are your hobbies? Uh-huh. Lecture, I don't think would be free time. would be considered as free time, you know? Uh-huh. So, for example, they would say, do you enjoy, for example, reading books? Do you enjoy watching sports? Uh-huh. What question would they ask about A, for example? Mm-hmm. Do you enjoy outdoor activities? Good. Okay. Yes, Parvana. Okay, very good. So, for example, do you enjoy spending time with your family? Do you like playing football or soccer? Oh, exactly. Also, for example, how often, right? But if they said you enjoy these activities, they are asking you for like whether you like something or not. So let's say like and dislike activities, right? Now, here, I'm going to introduce some expressions you can use in order to describe what you like and what you dislike, okay? So you guys are going to help me order them into like and dislike, okay? For example, I'm quite keen on reading. Be keen on something. Is it describing like or dislike? Mm-hmm. Exactly. Very good. So everybody agrees that be keen on something means to like something. How about this? I don't see the point of playing football. Uh-huh. Exactly. So when I don't see the point of doing something, means I don't know why people do it, which means I don't even care. So yes, it would be dislike. Good. How about I can't stand going to the gym? And can't stand means I cannot tolerate. If it is I cannot tolerate, uh-huh. Exactly. It's definitely dislike. Like I hate it. Okay. I find watching TV really relaxing. So I find something and then I can obviously use a positive adjective or a negative adjective. So if I use something like relaxing, for sure it means like. Okay. How about I'm not a big fan of action movies. Not a big fan of. Yeah, Jakob. Mm-hmm. Kano, Anna. Very good. Yes, exactly. So definitely a dislike. Obviously, if you want to use it to describe something you like, you would just say, I am a big fan of, right? Okay, how about this? I like to unwind by spending time with my family. The word unwind means, does anybody know what unwind means? Very good. Yes, Arcel. Uh-huh. Yes, unwind means to relax. So I like to relax by spending time with my family. So for sure, it's like. All right, how about this? I'm really into this series on Netflix at the moment. Uh-huh. I think one of you mentioned be really into something earlier. So if you are into something means you like it. And finally, going shopping for clothes just seems like a waste of time to me. If something is a waste of time, uh-huh, exactly. So it's definitely dislike, right? Okay, good. All right. Now let's answer a bit one of these questions. For example, what do you do to relax? You can write me a sentence in the chat using one of these expressions to tell me what you do to relax. I'm waiting for some examples. A complete sentence, okay? The point is you use these expressions. I like going to the gym. Enjoy. Okay. Okay. Very good. I like to unwind by watching TV. I'm quite keen on playing the guitar. Guys, the reason why we learn these expressions is that you avoid repeating the word like. So I see in the chat box a lot of you using the word like, right? But using like everybody knows what like means. Whatever your native language is, you've heard about like and dislike, for example, on Facebook, Instagram. So avoid using like and instead use these expressions, okay? And remember that after like, we either have to plus verb or ing, but not I like to cooking with my grandma. You say I like cooking with my grandma or I like to cook with my grandma, not both to and ing. Very good. I find reading books relaxing. I'm big on spending time with my family. Good. Okay, very nice. Now, let's talk about dislikes. What don't you enjoy doing? Cleaning. I hate that too. I'm not a huge fan of sports. I'm not a big fan of gossip news, fan of something. I can't stand washing dishes. Okay, guys, let's keep the topic leisure time activities, okay? I don't think that washing dishes or doing chores would be considered free time activities. Ah, it's not your thing? Okay. And remember, after I can't stand, we need ing. So I can't stand listening to podcast, interesting. Playing basketball, yeah, me neither. Uh-huh. You're not a big fan of Manchester United, okay? Romantic movies. Okay, very good. I see that I can't stand and a big fan of are the most popular examples in the chat. I'm not into dancing. Okay, very good. So obviously you can say I'm not keen on, I'm not really into in order to give variety to your answers. Okay, guys, great. Now, let's take a look at these activities, which are obviously some free time activities or leisure time activities. First, tell me what you see. Like A, what free time activity is that? Cricket match, okay. Cycling, yeah. Or maybe it's mountain climbing because mountain climbing, or yeah, cycling in the mountains, mountain biking. That was what I was looking for. Mountain biking. Very good, Sheldon. Okay. How about the second one? Yeah, extreme sports are actually quite terrifying. Yeah, party, concert, yeah, a club. Mm-hmm. Yeah, with the DJ, uh, disco. Uh-huh. Okay, just be careful with the word party or partying. Partying with Y than ing, not partying. Okay, how about C? So obviously they are watching something in C, right? I don't know if it's a football match or whatever, but the spectators are not very happy, right? But yeah, they are watching a sports event, and yes, they are disappointed about the results. Maybe they've been defeated, they've lost the game. Okay, good. How about the last one? Exactly. Just reading, right? Reading a book. Mm-hmm. All right. Now, what adjectives would you describe would you use to describe mountain climbing? Very good. That is a hammock. Manuela, Manuela. Okay, scary, dangerous. Uh-huh. Challenging, horrible. Guys, be careful with your spelling. Exciting is spelled. Okay. Crazy. I would call it crazy. Okay. Mm-hmm. The guy could be adventurous or brave or do something risky. Okay. How about B? What adjectives would you use to describe that noisy, Nathaniel? Okay. Fun, sure. Dancing is not an adjective. Crowded, crazy. It could get crazy. Alberto, noisy, bustling, okay. Annoying, so depending on whether you like parties or not. Sweaty, well, we cannot use sweaty to describe a place, but yeah. Hooligan, yeah, I don't think would be the best. Okay, interesting answers. But yeah, so it could be noisy, electric, fun, you know. Okay. We don't have crowding, we have crowded, chaotic. Enjoying is not an adjective. Stress, why would you be stressed at a party? Yes, it is included in the IELTS test. We're talking about free time activities in part one. Okay, tell me about C. And guys, I'm looking for adjectives, okay? Disappointed, bright, sad, terrible, emotional, disillusioned, maybe angry, upset, devastated, depending on how big of a fan you are. Upset. Okay. Good. Good. How about the last one? The guy reading. Relaxing, I think, is the best way. Chill. Yeah. Maybe chill would be a little too informal, but yeah. Why would you regret anything? Calm, relaxing, exactly, peaceful. Okay. Now, I am going to give you some adjectives. You tell me what it means and which activity you would describe, for example, as exhilarating. Do you know what exhilarating means? Exhilarating means something that makes you feel happy, excited, and full of energy. Happy, excited, full of energy. So which of these activities would you describe? B could be exhilarating. A definitely would be exhilarating. Yeah, either A or B. Although C, if you're watching, I don't know, a football match and you're winning, that could also be exhilarating, but definitely that's not how they are feeling. And guys, remember that H is silent, so it is not exhilarating, it is exhilarating. And Mark, you can see it on the screen. Exhilarating. Exhilarating. Okay, so we agree either A or B. How about relaxing? Yeah, I wouldn't call C relaxing necessarily because I don't think that they are really relaxed, but yes, D is very relaxing, sure. B, I don't think is relaxing, you know? Okay. A could also be relaxed, but isn't that like an extreme sport? Like you do it for the excitement. So I think that's more exhilarating than relaxing. So I would only describe D as relaxing. Okay. How about stressful? Which of these activities is stressful? C, yes, definitely stressful when it's a tight match. A could also be a bit stressful, in my opinion, you know, especially if it's the first time. I wouldn't call B stressful unless like you are an introvert or I don't know, you don't like crowds, then yeah, it could be stressful. But the nature of the activity is not very stressful, right? Okay. Which one is interesting word? Pointless. Like there is no reason for doing it. Okay, B, C, this one is very subjective in my opinion because like if you are not a big fan of partying, then partying would be pointless. But if you are, then or I don't know, if you are not a big fan, pointless means there is no reason. Like there is no point, there is no reason in doing it, you know? Like stress is pointless, very good. So for example, for me personally, C is pointless. I prefer to play some. like football, for example, than watching it, you know? But yeah, it depends. Some people think that reading is pointless. I do not agree with them, but I know, exactly. Everybody can find a point in something, yeah? Okay, so pointless, depending on your opinion, quite subjective. Um, okay, how about worthwhile? Which activity do you think is worthwhile? Means it is worthy of doing, opposite of pointless, I would say. Uh-huh. Worthwhile, A, D, yeah. Again, depending on your opinion, any one of them could be worthwhile. I would say maybe reading is worthwhile. Yeah, trying something new, like A, for example, could be worthwhile. B, if you're a big fan of partying. But well, let's say D is worthwhile. Boring. Exactly, I do agree. It's individual. Boring. Please don't say D. Everything can be boring, right? Like, for example, you might find watching soccer quite exhilarating. I find it boring. I find reading exciting. Somebody might find it boring again. But boring, maybe, I don't know. Yeah, it's very, 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 yeah, none of them. Exactly. Like, there's fun in everything. But yeah, something that doesn't excite you could be boring. Okay. How about exhausting? Exhausting is something that makes you tired. Which one is exhausting? Definitely A, I think. Like your legs would be ruined probably. What else? Partying could be exhausting if you're up until morning, C, I don't think that C is necessarily exhausting unless you're watching a tennis match that lasts 5 hours. Otherwise, very good, Arif. That is a correct answer. Yes. Introverts would say being with people, yeah, could be quite exhausting. But exhausting is something that makes you tired. So maybe let's say, okay. Which one is rewarding? Rewarding is like it gives you a good sense of satisfaction, and it makes you feel happy, satisfied because you think that you're doing something useful, something important. None of them? A and D, A, C. Okay, A, rewarding. That's a good answer. You like partying, but it is still exhausting. I do agree with you. Yeah, rewarding, for example, I think reading is rewarding, right? It makes you feel happy because you're doing something useful. You're gaining knowledge, experiencing something, somebody else's life if you're reading a story. Okay, great. Now, let's talk a little bit about this ed, ing adjectives that I told you about by doing first the first one, the first sentence. Which word is correct? Do I say I find going to the cinema relaxing or relaxed? And remember, going to the cinema. Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. I think 99% agree that it is relaxing. Why? What is the difference? Remember, guys, when something or someone is the producer of a feeling, we need ing. If somebody or something is the recipient, means receiving the feeling, we have ed. Okay. So, for example, I say, the movie is boring. So the people who are watching it are bored. But it is some people say that okay, something is ed, people ing. Sorry, people ing something ed, but no. A class can be boring. A teacher can be boring. So teacher is a person, but they can be boring, right? And then the students could be bored. So let's learn it this way. Producer of a feeling, ing. The receiver, the recipient of a feeling, ed. So going to the cinema is relaxing. This produces the feeling in, for example, the audience. So it is relaxing. Let's look at another one. Tell me about this. I read, I read a really fascinating book or fascinated book. Book have feelings. Books have feelings. Can they be fascinated? Oh, a book can be fascinating because you are the person who's fascinated by the story. Guys, the book cannot be fascinated. Books don't have feelings, right? It's a fascinating book because it is producing this feeling in the reader, which is us. So it is not a fascinated book. It is a fascinating book. Why can't I talk today? Okay, so definitely ing. Okay, we had many wrong answers, so hopefully this one is better. Watching my team play is always an exhilarating experience or exhilarated. Does this experience, let's say, receive or produce? Okay, I think now there are still some wrong answers, but most of them are correct. The experience produces this feeling, right? The experience cannot receive this feeling. So is it ed or ing? Okay, I still have ed. Uh-huh. ing. Watching my team play is always an exhilarating experience. The experience is exhilarating, producing this feeling, right? I am exhilarated. I am the recipient. Okay, I will explain one more time. ing adjectives are producers of feelings. Ed adjectives are the recipients, right? So, a fascinating book, Jakob, the book produces the feeling of fascination. A book is is something, it cannot receive the feeling, you know? So the book gets excited. No, you read the book, you as a recipient, but it says a fascinating book, which means the book produces the feeling of fascination in the reader. The same for the third one. The experience is exhilarating. The experience makes the people will be exhilarated because they are the recipients, okay? All right. Hopefully this one, we will have everybody giving me the correct answer. I don't like going shopping. I think that D was just a joke, right? Uh-huh. So going to the shopping is boring. Then I don't like shopping. Me as a person, I get bored, right? But the action is boring. It produces that feeling. Okay, great. So almost all correct answers. Very good. Then shopping makes me bored, right? Okay. And one. Like I said, the word exhilarating means something that makes you feel really happy and excited. So that is exhilarating. A new experience, for example, and we can say an exhilarating experience. We can say an exhilarating walk. When I walk around and I see a lot of like weird, interesting things, that's an exhilarating, let's say, walk. Okay. Thanks for the hearts. Now my monitor is colorful. Okay, so this is a good exercise. Let's change these sentences into ed adjectives. But one of you already, I think, did for the last one. So I find going to the cinema really relaxing. How can I use relaxed and change this sentence? You need to change the sentence, okay? For example, very good, the movie made me bored. I felt relaxed when I go, I feel relaxed when I go to the movies. I am relaxed. Exactly. Or I can say going for walks in the country always makes me feel relaxed. Okay. Um, how about the book? Can we change it? Mm-hmm. Very good. I'm very good, Alma. I'm fascinated by this book. Uh-huh. Very good. Yeah. Or I was fascinated by this book the other day. Okay, how about the team exhilarating experience? Very good. I was fascinated. Now let's move on to the team watching, exhilarating. Watching my team play is always an. So I read a fascinating story, Keno. The story is fascinating. The adjective is describing the story, not the I. Very good. So the experience of watching my team exhilarated me. Very good. Or I am exhilarated. Okay. Very good. My team plays makes me exhilarated. Okay. And the last one, very good. Tell me about shopping now. It makes me bored. Shopping makes me bored. I feel bored when I go shopping. I am bored by shopping. I feel bored. Exactly. Okay. So you get the idea. Good job. Now, um, like I said, one of the common topics in the IELTS test in IELTS Part 1 is the topic of hobbies and free time activities, right? For example, they ask, what do you like to do to relax? A very common question. Then you say, I like running. Do you think this is a good enough answer? Obviously not, right? Short. You are repeating the word like. There is no reason, right? How could we develop it? I'm a big fan of running because running appeals to me. Ahmed, exactly. Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. Good job, guys. I see that you are changing the word like, so you know that we are not supposed to do that. But I also need to, let's say, give, um, did I miss it? Okay, so I also need to give reasons for my answer, right? So why do I like it? Why do I, what did you say? It makes you relaxed. Uh-huh. So I should first, the strategy is this. Answer the question first. So what do you like to do relax? Well, I'd say that my favorite, can you help me complete this? I do also yoga to relax. Good. My favorite what is probably running? My favorite hobby, activity, pastime. This is a good paraphrase for hobby. Okay, is probably running. After that, I need to give a reason for my answer, right? So I say, I find it really relaxing, right? And then I can give an example for it. In a typical week, I'll go out for a run 3 or 4 times. Then I can also give an alternative. Alternative means another thing, for example, that I do, or if I can't run, what do I do? So I can say, on the other hand, if the weather is really bad, I'll go and in my local gym instead. What do we do at the gym? Help me complete this. Exercise at the gym, workout at the gym, train could also work. Yeah. So that's the alternative. And then I can summarize my answers. So yeah, I'm quite a sporty person, so that's what I usually do in my free time. So to wrap up, the strategy for part 1, of course, you can also use this strategy to expand your answers in part 3. How does it work? You learn the word areas. A, answer. R, reason. E, example. A, alternative. S, summarize. Okay? So, areas. Then you do it one by one. Try to add some linking words. Notice the phrasal verbs that I've used. Go out, work out. Notice the adverbs and the vague language that I use, like probably, really, 3 or 4 times adverb of time. So I'm quite, instead of just saying I'm sporty, I say I'm quite. as 40%. Usually I do something, right? And for example, let's take a look at the verb forms. I'll go out. Mhm. I'm using I'll go and work out because I'm creating this condition. All right. So all in all, don't forget to use good phrasal verbs. They will help you with vocabulary. Paraphrases like pastime instead of, for example, hobby. Use adverbs to describe your verbs and adjectives to describe your nouns, right? And use linking words. That would be a good answer. Okay, now I'm going to give you a minute. Okay, I would like you to prepare an answer using this strategy. Answer the question, give reason, example, alternative, summarize. But remember, this is part one. So your answer is supposed to be quite short. So one sentence for each would be enough. The question is this: do you think hobbies should be shared with other people? Let's get a couple of answers. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, guys, I'm giving you time to type more than just a yes. Give me a sample answer for this using the strategies. Answer, reason, example, alternative, summarize. That's why I'm keeping silent. Mm-hmm. So, because we can make a friendship with someone has the same, I really enjoy doing my hobbies with others. I think okay, but you're not sending me complete answers because, like I said, you need one sentence for each of these, right? Okay, Parvana, let's read it. It depends on the hobby and personal. Some hobby like okay. Remember, Parvana, that in this part you are not talking about people in general. So if I'm asking about you, I'm not interested in what other people think. It doesn't depend because I have my own interests, right? That answer could be better for part three question, which is general. Part one is about you. So why would you talk about other people? Okay. Okay. Muhammad, I read it. William. Okay. Sometimes, yes, but not all the time. It can be interesting. Okay, it is I'm of the opinion, not of the opinion. Okay. RF, I'll say that hobbies should be shared with friends because sharing the hobbies will bring us more social sacrifice and go for play some sport together will be more exhilarating. Nevertheless, some hobbies could be kept personal, such as reading books. Okay, very good answer, RF. There were some grammar problems, but the overall answer is quite good. Okay, guys, thank you. Let's move on. Did you have a hobby when you were a child? Or why do you think people have hobbies? I'm going to ask you to do number three. Okay, this one is a part three question. Why do you think people have hobbies, right? So now the answer could be a little less personal. Okay. So guys, you're giving me the answer to the last one. I'm sorry that I cannot read everybody's answer. Okay. Waiting for some answer. Aishwa, interesting answer. I read it. So, my perspective, the meditation is the best hobby which I have ever done. It makes into a release and clear mind before you're attentive to something. It until it becomes a behavior. Okay. Very I love for sure. I think we'll have hobbies because some. Okay. All right, guys. Good. I see that the answers are short. I'm gonna take it as like because you're typing, it takes time. Otherwise, of course, if it's a part three question, these answers are quite short. So there you have to explain your answer more. Mm-hmm. Okay. Be okay. Meet new friends, express themselves. Okay. All right, good, good. So just have the, let's say, have the strategy in mind. Answer, reason, example, the other side of the argument, and give a summary. All right. Now, let's move on to part two. As you know, in part two, you will have a cue card, right? 1 minute to think, 2 minutes to speak, right? So, for example, you get to describe a book or movie or a TV show. Here you can see describe a book you read when you were a child or describe a film you have seen recently, right? Now, let's talk about some movies. Okay. Here you can find some genres of different movies. For example, we have action movies, means like a lot of fighting involved, romantic or tragedy. Romantic, you know what it is. Comedy, which is funny. Thriller. Thriller means somebody dies, right? And or somebody is missing and the police is looking for them, right? Sherlock Holmes, like the Silence of the Lambs that you see here, right? So it's important that you learn about different genres of movies. Do you know any genres of movies which are not mentioned here? Horror movie, yeah. Sci-fi, okay. History, sci-fi, okay. Rom-com, romantic comedy, yeah. Drama, okay. Fantasy, yes. Documentary, exactly. Tragicomedy, animation cartoons, okay, good. Now, how do we plan our talk in part two? So remember that, um, you know, when you get to talk about a book or film, what many students do is to describe the story, but then they run out of, things to say and then they don't know what to say, right? Remember that when we want to talk about a book or let's say a film, you can use this structure in order to answer the question, right? So, for example, you can introduce the book or film. How? By giving information about the name, author, genre, why you chose to talk about this book. This could be your introduction. Then give some background information. So when did you read it or when did you watch it? Where did you see or get it from? Why did you choose to read or watch this? This would be your second step. Then in part three, you will introduce your main characters. So who are they? What do they want? Then you outline the plot. Plot means the general story. So what happens in the story? What happened at the beginning? What happened in the middle? What happened at the end? And finally, what's your opinion? I think by following these 5 steps, you will be able to talk about the film or book. So you don't have to stick to the 4 questions on the cue card because, well, it might not be enough, right? So try to follow these 5 steps. Let's take a look at an example. For example, I want to talk about Leave No Trace. So I want to introduce the book. Name, author, genre, and why you chose to talk about this, right? Or if I would say yes, in order to do well, and have things to say. So you can start like this. Today, I'd like to talk about a movie I've seen recently. The name of the movie is Leave No Trace. I'm not entirely sure who the director is, but I think they are American. The movie is a type of family drama set in the Pacific Northwest of the USA, right? This is my introduction, right? And why did I choose this topic? I chose it because I really enjoyed it and it left a big impression on me. After that, so you see the linking words that I'm using today. I'd like to talk about the name of the movie is. You can learn this and use it to talk about your favorite movie or book. Then I give some background information. So I watched this movie at home with my partner. It was Friday night. We were both tired from working all day, so we decided to have a quiet one and catch a movie together. And I chose this one because it had a 5-star review, so we thought we'd check it out, and we ended up like streaming it on Netflix. This is the background of my answer, and you see that I'm trying to use some idiomatic expressions like have a quiet one, catch a movie, check it out, ended up, you know. These are some phrasal verbs and some idioms. And these are the, let's say, good words and phrases. Then I can introduce the main characters of a movie or a book. There are two main characters in the movie, this and that. The father is this. He wants blah, blah. The daughter is this. She wants blah, blah. Uh-huh. And then, like I said, this is the main character, what she wants, the main character, what he wants. Then I can outline the plot. Plot means the story, right? Yes, you can lie. And no, 1 minute and a half is not enough, 2 minutes. So at the beginning of the movie, they're living in a forest, blah, blah. Then what happens? Eventually at the end, and then, you know, if you want to spoil, you will. If not, no. So I'm using, for example, present continuous to talk about the beginning of the story. And then the main events of the story, I use simple present. So at the beginning, ing, later, simple present. So you can learn these linking words at the beginning of the movie, then eventually, I won't spoil the ending. And then give your opinion. So I really enjoyed this movie because, or I would definitely recommend this film to anyone who likes, you see, and that's it. You can easily, you know, gather your thoughts, 5 steps in your mind. Just write some keywords in that 1 minute that you have. Remember to use idioms, phrasal verbs, linking words, and then you're good to go. All right. Now, let me okay, for a sec. All right, guys. So let's have a short recap of what we worked on today. So we worked on part one, right? We talked about different types of, let's say, questions that we will have in part one. And the topic that we worked on was leisure time activities. We learned about ed and ing adjectives. We learned some adjectives to describe, let's say, some leisure time activities. And we learned a strategy for part two. So I'm going to spare like 5 minutes maybe to answer some of your questions. But before I do, let me introduce you to our one-on-one IELTS lessons, okay? And then I will answer your questions. So save your answers for now, okay? And I will reply to them as fast as I can, or as much actually as I can. All right. So as you know, we on IELTS online tests, we offer one-on-one lessons. What is, let's say, the benefits of a one-on-one lesson? Well, you will have flexible scheduling, right? So you can choose any time of the day, any day of the week, weekend, whatever you like. Then you can, let's say, work on your strengths and weaknesses. So you don't have to work on all parts of the test. You can tell your teacher, I have difficulty with writing, and that's what the teacher will focus on, right? The platform will be interactive, right? So you will have, well, Zoom, you will have your videos on, you will have your microphone on, just like what I'm doing now. Of course, in the class also the students can have their videos and microphones on, and you can interact with your teacher. So it could be quite interactive. And our IELTS teachers are all professional teachers. They have taken the IELTS test themselves. They have, let's say, coached, let's say, other students to gain their goals. So it would be quite useful. And so if you need like more information or consultation and everything, you can scan this barcode. As I'm not looking at the question, so give me a minute. Then we have writing evaluation service. We have speaking evaluation service for those of you who prefer to self-study. So you can use these. And here you can see some of the useful links. So for example, speaking and writing evaluation, like the one I told you before, our upcoming webinars just like today, And I think everybody knows about the listening and reading videos and, explanations when you're doing tests at home. Okay. Now, let me answer some of your questions. Guys, if you have any questions that I have not answered, please copy and paste it here. The fee, you need to ask the website, you need to consult with, let's say, a coordinator, right? You're welcome, dear. You're welcome, guys. Rosie, the PDF is not available, but you will have access, I think, to the video 1 or 2 hours after I finish this session, so you can like maybe rewatch it. Sure, my pleasure. So, guys, any questions about parts 1 and 2 about the strategies? Yes, Aishwa, in order to get a good score, you do need to have some idiomatic language, right? So, idioms, phrasal verbs, collocations, higher level words, they're quite important. My pleasure, Renee. Linka, I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing the words correctly. The recording will be on the website. Gusti, you cannot predict part 3 questions, but remember that the topic of part 3 will be close to part 2. So by then it would be a little late because like if you are asked about a field, for example, later they're going to ask you some more general questions about the same topic. But so you would know about part 3 by the time you get your Q part. We will work on part 3 later, Emmanuel, but like I said, the strategy areas that I introduced today, answer, reason, example, alternative, and summary, is useful also for part 3. Personally, I think it is more appropriate for part 3. Why? Because in part 3, you need longer answers. In part 1, you don't really, like I would say the R would be enough. Answer, reason, example. But for part 3, you can expand, have an alternative, and also a summary. Okay. Patricia. Um, yeah, well, I think it's quite, controversial if you say I wanna or I want to. I'm not gonna make a comment on this, but I'm pretty sure in my IELTS test I did it and I did a good job, so I don't think it would be that big a deal. Don't focus on these things. Try to, improve the vocabulary, grammar, fluency. Yes, I'm sorry, I can't read the names, but yes, if you don't understand the question, you can ask the examiner to repeat the question in part 1. In part 3, if you don't understand it, yes, they can explain, but just once. Areas rule for all of the parts. Well, for part 1, you can use it for part 3. Part 2 obviously has its own requirement. You also have Met Michigan English Test Practice Resources. Pal, I'm sorry, but I don't even know what Met is. I think it's very particular. Okay. Yes, stay tuned, Alberto, for the other sessions and other webinars. Okay, I'm trying to catch up with all the questions. Oops, I missed some. Rustam, good question. Accent, no. Pronunciation, yes. Okay. So, like, it doesn't matter if you, for example, if your mother tongue. What do I mean? I mean, like, for example, if you're Indian and you have an Indian accent, it's fine. If you're Iranian, you have Persian accent, it's fine. Pronunciation is important, right? That is intonation, word stress, sentence stress. These are important, right? But accent, no, we have many different types of accents in this word: Australian, Canadian, American, British. Okay. How about the grammar? Galileo? What do you mean? How about the grammar? Well, grammar, 25% of your score, so it is important. Intonation and stress, definitely. 25% of your score is dedicated to pronunciation, right? So intonation and stress are part of pronunciation, so definitely. Exhilarating and worthwhile. No, exhilarating means exciting. Worthwhile means it is worthy. If you know the meaning of the word worthy, like it makes sense doing it. Or, for example, yeah, worthwhile would be useful. Exhilarating would be exciting. Maybe this can help you learn it more easily. Um, can I combine British accent and American accent for speaking this? One, why would you do it? I would say don't do it because definitely like if you speak American English, always have American English. If you speak British English, always maintain the same accent. This change shows like I don't think it's a good idea. 5 steps for answer part two. Yes, of course. Give me 1 sec to share it back so that you can take a screenshot. If I remember which page it was. Okay, let me share it again. All right, here it is. Part two strategy. Um, a prime therapeutic. Okay, good answer. I mean, good word, but don't overuse the good words. Like if you say it once or twice, it's natural. But if like you say it 5 times, it just shows that you don't know any other word. You know what I mean? You are supposed to show your knowledge of your command of vocabulary. So don't, overuse something. How to fast learn IELTS for take? Well, there is no fast way. You need to improve your general English and then prepare for the test. Differentiate. What was that question? The use of has and have. I'm going to use them. Ajibola. Have, you use it with I, you, we, they. Has, you use with he, she, and it. You're speaking fluency. Well, there are a lot of factors, contributing to fluency. Practice obviously makes perfect, right? I would just say listen to English as much as you can, right? And there is technique which is called shadowing. Google it. I think it will be of some help. Um, no, well, they are not gonna give you a minute or a second to answer. You can say something like this. Well, that's an interesting question. I've never thought about it, but then you have to actually answer, you know, because you cannot like stop, think, and then answer the question. You must start. When I was saying the sentence, well, I've never thought about it. I was actually thinking about my answer. My mouth is saying something, my brain is thinking of my answer. So I would say that's what you need to do. Have some sentence prepared. So when you need some time to think, that can help you. Reading and writing task, how can I? Well, Kusum, how do I know what your problems in reading and writing tasks are? So that's a very general question. I'm sorry. Okay. If there are no more questions, as in on our website, I think you can find a lot of good materials and online tests. There are very common like Simon and those let's say websites, so you can rely on them. Monica, like I said, try to speak as much as you can. Try to listen to as much as you can, right? Podcast, I don't know, whatever you like, and practice the shadowing technique. If it is Arcel, how many questions? Between 9 and, if I'm not mistaken, 12. 3 topics, each one, 5 questions. My pleasure, Patricia. Okay, shadowing technique, guys, you have to Google it because now I don't have the time to explain it, but do Google it and see what it is. Okay, guys, so it was nice meeting everybody. I hope I have answered most of the questions, if not all. I wish everybody good luck, and I hope to see you guys in our upcoming webinars. Take care and see you later. Bye-bye.